Okay, we are recording now. Good thing I didn't forget that. Holy cow. Okay, so if you just joined us, we are on the RPR website, which is NAR RPR.com. And like I said, you can go right in there, type in whatever address you want to. And almost every property in the United States is in this, this system. So as soon as you start typing it in, it will auto-populate, and you'll, like if you have a real general First Street or something like that, it'll pull up literally a list of in every state that are on First Street. And so then you go to the one that you're looking for, click on that, and that way you know you're pulling an address that they have. If you type it in and it doesn't, it'll be a lot harder. So there are addresses, rural addresses, and sometimes in very small towns that are not in this system. I'm taking a second because it's telling me to please wait. It's obviously looking for this property. And I'm just going to click backwards twice because that was actually where we originally started, was on this property. So a little technical difficulties here. Guess I'm going to have to X out of that. I'm going to click on the, again, if you're logged into RMLS, you can go directly, you'll see the listings right there. You go way over here and click on that RPR link. And if you're already linked in, or if you're already logged into RPR, it will show the property. Yeah.
Sorry if you already mentioned this and I missed it, but so if there's 3 different listings of the same house, does it matter which one of those you pick?
It doesn't actually, as long as it's the correct, I mean, when I typed in over here on RMLS, it pulled up all 3 listings because this is the same property. They're all 211 Northeast 55th Avenue in Hillsborough. So this just shows that it was listed 3 different times. I could click on any one of those 3 links there and it would bring me to this exact same page. Great question.
Okay.
Yep. So what comes up first, guys, is a lot of times the refined value or your comp analysis, this will not be here. The fact that I've been here before, it shows that I last edited this in November because I had taken another agent through this in November to get to a comp analysis on this property. The things that you want to look at on the first time that you're in here is what was the previous sold price, okay? What is the RVM? And here's another cool thing is anytime they have like RVM, okay, what is an RVM? I have no idea. So I'm just gonna hold my, my finger over this cursor and it literally will tell me what that is. So it says in some markets, RVR displays, Realtors valuation model, RVM, property estimates in addition to or instead of automated valuation model. Basically what an RVM is, it's the Realtor version of a Zillow's estimate. Okay, so Zillow has algorithms. They basically say there's nobody on the backside of Zillow that's saying this property should be valuated at this price. It's all automated. It's based on criteria and algorithms that particular website pulls up. What I've found in my history of being a realtor is that the RVM is a lot closer to the real market value than a Zillow's estimate is. And even if you go to Zillow, they'll say that their Zillow's estimates can be, I think the last time I looked, it was anywhere between 10 and 17% higher or lower than market value. Could be. Sometimes they're right on, of course, but a lot of times they're way off. And that's what we want to make sure we educate our clients about is, yeah, I understand you checked out your Zillow's estimate, but did you know that they could be 10 to 17% off? And do you want to leave 10 to 17% of your purchase price on the table and somebody else get all of that equity? Or do you want to try to list it 17% above market value and never get anybody that wants to come in and show your home? That's why you're asking me as a realtor to really dive in and give you a CMA today. So you go in here.
Yeah. Trevor, is there a place, like, did you come up with that number on your own, or is there a source for that 10 and 17% that I can point to?
I've actually Googled that in the past. I just say how far, like Google, how far off are Zillow's estimates?
Okay.
And they literally on their own website, they'll give you that data as far as how far off it can be. And I think in certain markets, it can be more off. And in other larger markets where they have more data to pull from, they're closer.
Okay.
So they'll, even by city, I think they'll give you the percentages of what they can be off. So yeah, don't quote me right now on that. Make sure that you go, and that's a great point, Andre, is go and Google that yourself, because the stats, obviously, our market values continue to update, as does that, that statistic for Zillow. So great point. Another thing you want to look at is the RVM confidence. If this has only 1 star, it's probably way off. But this being a 5-star RVM, that means that this RVM estimated range between 449 and 496 is probably pretty close on. And I found that 9 times out of 10, my CMA, when I do all the work on it, will come in close to the middle or the higher end of that range, depending on the condition of the property that I'm looking at. My first step, usually again, the comp analysis portion is blank because it hasn't been filled out before, or at least not by me. And so then you're going to click on edit, or you're going to click on create a comp analysis. So you click on that. Actually, what might be better, instead of me doing an old one that I've done before, is to go in and do a new one. So is there a property anybody wants to throw at me that they're working on a CMA for, or just a random address that you know of? Or I can just...
I have one if you give me a second to find the address.
Totally, yep.
Thank you. I'm listing my first one soon, so.
Awesome, Gwendolyn.
Thank you.
Do you go by Gwen or Gwendolyn?
I go by Gwen.
Okay, your box says Gwendolyn, so that's why I said that.
I figured, yeah, I'm used to it. Okay, let's see. It is 1311
1311
Mountain View Drive, Forest Grove, 97116.
There we go. So as I've filled this out, sometimes as you see where I filled in the word drive, it didn't auto-populate, but now I can see that it's right here below here. So I'm going to click on that first. So it's pulling up that full property. I'm going to click on the search, and here we go. So this particular property, different than the last one we saw, right? The AVM, automation valuation model, is there. There is not an RVM on this one, but the AVM range shows here, and it has an AVM confidence of 4 stars out of 5. So it could be a little bit off, but it's at least guiding you in the right direction, showing you some basic facts. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, mobile manufactured house. It even gives you an idea as to where the property is on the map. So you can scroll down through all of this and look at some of the details. But what I tend to do, instead of getting too detailed into that, is going right into create a comp analysis for this property. So that's the first button you're going to hit. And you're basically going to go through the steps here. You're going to create a comparative analysis. And they even explain the difference right here. If you want to know the difference between a comparative analysis versus a sales comparison analysis, which is more detailed. It's more like if you were an appraiser. I tend to try to not overstep my bounds and do something like an appraiser. I'm a realtor. I'm going to give you market value, but I'm not here to appraise your home or tell you the exact value like an appraiser would. I'm going to confirm the facts, okay? Here's where it pulls up 2 columns of data, the public record data and then the listing data if this property was listed before. This one's showing it has not been listed before, so that means I need to reach out to the owner and ask all of these questions. What's your lot size? What's your, what is everything else, okay? So because is this property in a park, or is it?
It's in a 55 and older community.
Okay, so when so this might not be a great property to do it on,
Okay.
just because they don't own the land, so it's going to be quite a bit different. But we're going to go ahead and move forward on this just to see where it goes.
Hey,
So
Trevor.
we're going to, yes, go ahead.
Can we, like at this point, could I go to my local friendly title rep and give them the address and ask them for a trio and get some of that information validated?
Absolutely, yes. That's
Because
probably one of your first stops is before you're meeting with your clients, you want to confirm that the people that you're meeting with own this property and all the details that are of public record. So that's a great point. Yep.
So like the lot size would be in the trio and the dimensions?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
The lot size, another way to look for a property and finding the lot size, if it has a lot size, is again, go back to RMLS. I'm going to actually try this real quick because this Mountain View Drive, because I'm not seeing a lot size, I'm assuming that it probably, the whole park is owned by one owner, and then they are lotting out and renting out to mobile park owners.
That is correct.
So, okay. So if I look up this property in search tax address, then I can, actually let's go 311, 1311, 1311.
Sorry, didn't mean to throw a hard one at you.
No, it's totally good because every time we do these, they're either going to come in as soft or hard, and so view. So let's just see what the tax record does come up with on a property like this. Okay. So when you pull up this address, yeah, see, this is 13 acres. So it's definitely, what you're selling is actually just the mobile home,
Right.
not the lot with it, because the lot is actually almost 14 acres. And that would be a lot higher valued. So going back to this, actually, because it is, yeah, let's just keep going. Let's see where it takes us. I've not done a mobile manufactured home. I'm going to try to go through this fairly quick. You can stop me if you have any questions. Whoops. Do you know the living square footage on this one?
It's about 1350-ish, 1300.
1350, okay. Do you know, well, we don't have a lot size, that's right. Lot dimensions, don't worry about that. There's no basement below it, so we're putting 0 in. There's a carport?
There's a carport, yeah.
Okay. Let's say yes. And it's a one space or two?
I mean, it's very long. It's only one space wide-wise, but you could get 2 cars under it.
Okay. There's no pool?
No.
Built in 1990, is that correct?
If that's what it says, I'm guessing so.
Okay. You can abbreviate some of these. Is it a heat pump or is it, it's saying heat pump here, or is it a furnace?
It is a heat pump. It was just replaced, so that I know.
Okay. Exterior is wood, or is it vinyl or anything like that?
I don't know yet. We're not listening till the beginning of next month, so I haven't gathered everything yet.
So here's the differences. We're seeing 167 versus 1. So it's number of buildings, it's saying 167. So it probably has 167 lots within that. So we're going to see where this takes us, if this is even doable on this system. Then you go to step 2, which is find comps. Sorry, I kind of clicked on that fairly quickly. Step number 2 is finding comps. You're going to then, what happens is it pulls up it kind of centers where that property is. You'll see right there, that little subject property is right there. I go with public record and even distressed properties sometimes. Sometimes I'll leave off the distressed properties. We'll do that in this situation right now. And then we want to see sold properties as well. I always leave this as it is, 6 months. I always, with size of properties, it's not always the bedrooms and the bathrooms that's important, but the living square footage, because you could have 2 properties that are valued very close to each other. One is a 3-bedroom, one's a 4-bedroom, but obviously that 4-bedroom, the bedrooms are probably smaller. So there's not necessarily more value because it has 4 bedrooms. They're probably valued at the same amount of space because they have the same square footage for their home. So because it was 1350, they've already given me this range of 1,000 to 1,700 square feet. I'm just going to keep it as that. And we're going to do a search and see what this comes up with. Okay, so it's saying that there are no properties that are like that, mobile manufactured. So this is one that is going to be really difficult. You're going to have to do a little bit more research with your title company and ask for them for some records as to what's sold in that area.
Okay. And I can just, is there an easier way or different way to do that through RMLS? Because I know on Flex, I was able just to pull up what sold in the last however many months and kind of come up with a number on.
On RMLS, you do the same type of search. And sometimes that's really all you can do with the CMA. If you're not able to do it through RPR, is just do a general quick search or a map search, one of these two, and see what other manufactured homes it comes up with.
Okay.
And what I tend to do is if I'm not able to come up with any comps, then I will widen the search, okay? So I'll modify the search. I'll go back and I'll say, okay, if it's not within the last 6 months, did anything sell within the last 12 months? Let's do a search then. Okay, still nothing.
And that's interesting because I know a bunch of stuff sells in there all the time. So I just don't know. I don't know why.
So there might be part of our criteria that is just throwing it off slightly, or it just does not allow for properties. Well, it is showing that one. So that's what's interesting is it's showing mobile. We asked for mobile properties.
Yeah.
And,
as you can imagine, in a 55 and older community, there's a lot of turnover. So.
Yep.
Trevor, I just want to make sure, you said if we can't find anything in the MLSs or on this website, we call our title company and ask for comps?
Yeah, you can ask your title company to help you search for comparable properties. The nice thing about the title company is they are not just searching for properties in the MLS, they're searching public data records. And so they are looking at even properties that did not sell through the MLS. So they would be able to pull up properties that were maybe for sale by owner and were transferred from one person to another without any real estate agent involved. That's pretty rare. I think nationally the numbers of properties that sell without a realtor is like 13% or less. And especially in larger cities, it's probably even lower than that. But so question for you, do you guys want to throw another property at me, or do you want to me to go with the one that I had started with? What are your thoughts there?
I think you should go with another property just so we can watch the full, from start to finish, of one that you haven't done before. That way you can get a general idea.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, give me one.
Do you want to do mine?
Sure. What's property you have?
850 Southwest C.
How do you spell that?
Letter C.
C.
Avenue, Corvallis.
Oh. Okay. There we go. C Avenue, Corvallis. I'm not as familiar with the Corvallis area, so this will be a little bit more difficult for me, and it definitely will be pulling properties from WVMLS because that's the dominant, I know the Corvallis area, that's the dominant MLS in that area, WVMLS. So looking at this, it said a list price last listed on 11/28/2020. So was it previously listed?
That's
took
me.
it off the market?
No,
that
that's
is
me.
you. Oh, I got you. Okay. So it is currently listed by you. So the RVM confidence right here is 4 out of 5 stars. That's good. their price range is obviously it's lower than yours. Okay, so they're showing the RVM confidence it would not go as high as what you've got it right now. Okay, so if I create a comp analysis right now for this property, I'm going to start with confirming the facts. Single family home. I feel like it's important to fill out all of these pieces. It doesn't necessarily affect your comp analysis, but in the report side, it does show whether or not you filled out all the blanks. So is it 1925 or 1910 square feet?
Seller stated 1925. They had extended the kitchen.
Okay. And 4792 square feet. Lot dimensions, you could just put in the 4792 again, or you might have a, you know, a lot that's, you might in here, I'll just put an example. I have no idea what your lot size is, but it could be in that, it could be like 47 by 100. So that's what you would put in that area. Is there a basement?
No.
Crawl space, so no square feet in the basement. And when they are asking for that, what they're asking for is like unfinished space in a basement.
Okay.
Is there a garage? Yes.
Yeah.
2-car?
Yes.
No pool?
No pool.
Built in 1925. Total rooms 8. Comp shingle roof?
There's like 9, 10 rooms.
Okay.
Yeah, shingle roof.
We'll just put not 8. The public data is showing, so we'll say 8 to, nope, it's only letting me do, I'll put in 10. Forced air. And it does have a wood stove too?
Yes.
Okay. No AC?
No cooling.
One fireplace? The siding is wood, or is it like a composition or?
No, it's wood.
Okay. Do you know if it's cedar?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And number of stories, it's
2 stories.
Okay, it's 2 stories. Okay. So then I've confirmed the facts and I close this out. Then I go on to step 2, which is search for comps. There's our subject property right there. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I'm going to click on public record as well. We're going to sold, but we're not going to choose any of the others. All within the last 6 months. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath minimum. And then square footage, they put a pretty wide range. I'm just going to leave things as is to start, see what it comes up with. When I click on search, it looks like it only comes up with 1 comp so far. Is that pretty common? There's not a lot of turnover in that area?
No, there's tons. It's right next to the college. I think you had it set to as old as 1960. Yeah, so year built up to 1950. So
Okay.
that.
But that's
Oh,
not
it's not
chosen.
clicked,
If it was chosen, it would be affecting it, but it's not.
Yeah.
It could be because I'm directly connected with RMLS and it's maybe only choosing the full RMLS listings as opposed to RMLS and VMLS. So
Yeah.
that may be the holdup as to why it's not doing that. So there's another hang up is if you're not in that area. So at least it pulled up this one. Let's go ahead and just add that one just to give you an idea as to what this does. And the more properties you add, you'll see this range widens. Okay, so if you're adding 3 or 4 properties, let's just change this to go back 12 months. We'll take off the beds and bath. Let's do another quick search, see what it comes. Okay, so now it's coming up with 3 more. Okay, so as I'm going to unclick on that one first. I'm going to click on the very first one. So this starts at 370, 337. So notice how my range changes right now. And as I add each property, it changes a little bit. The numbers I tend to look at is, okay, what are the price per square foot for each property? So so far I've clicked on one that's $175 per square foot, one for 202, and then one for 260, and then they just keep getting bigger, right? Okay. So as I click on these, you got to realize, okay, this is going to continue to widen my range. Maybe that's not a true comp. Maybe I shouldn't include that. And as it's listed at 775, that would throw my comp analysis way off, and it probably would throw my sellers for, geez, I can sell for 775? No, you can't. Okay. So then I'm going to look back through. I may choose, that would throw it way off. Okay. So I'm not going to choose that one. That would also throw it way off. Okay. So that's all I have so far. So right now, the one that is probably throwing it more or less off than most is this one that is only 1560 square feet that sold for 405. And if we look up here, these are the properties. The darker ones are the ones that are selected so far, and I don't see the third one on the page there yet. So let's zoom out a little bit and see if we see any more. Might want to modify the search and search one more time. So sometimes the other piece is zooming out of your map and saying, okay, can I find more comps that way? I click search again. And it did. It came up with more comps now. See, now it's pulling in a lot more comps. There we go. So now it's giving me a more of a range, even more. Each property is based on how close it is to your subject property. And so it's going in order of closest to furthest away. You'll see the 0.7 miles, 0.16 miles, see how it gets larger and larger. So the further down that you scroll, once you start getting more than a mile away from your property, they're probably not very good comps. A lot of times appraisers try to only stay within about a half mile to a mile at most of the comparative property. They try not to go further than that.
Trevor, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I'm a little confused. What were you meaning by we didn't want that comp because it changed? I can't see the right side of my screen because all the pictures are on it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Bobby, if you go to the top of the pictures, you can pick hide thumbnail video, show small active speaker video. You're probably on the third option, which is everybody's faces, but show small active speaker only shows the person who's talking.
I don't have that, Allie. I have mute my audio, stop video, rename, pin video, hide self view.
Oh, okay. So you're on your mobile.
I'm on my laptop. I'm in the office. Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. Trevor, you can tell me later. Let's
Actually,
move on.
you know what, Bobby,
Can
you
you
could
go to
just,
full screen?
why don't you come in my office, because you're in the same office as me. Come into my office and you'll see what I'm seeing.
Okay, I'll be right in. Thanks.
All right. That's easier. Okay, so moving on. So you're going to choose your comps. Again, I kind of looked down this list and I realized, okay, I really probably don't want to go higher than 260. So as I look down these comps, I probably don't want to choose some of these. I might, again, choose this one because it seems within a reasonable amount of my comps. But again, this is a rough estimate. It's based on what you think these properties should sell for. The other thing is, if you're really still not sure, is you can click on any one of these and it will open a whole new window and give you a lot more details on that property. Okay, so if I'm like, I'm not sure if I should choose this one or not, okay, I'm going to take a little bit closer look at this. I'm going to take a little closer look at the photos for this property. This one actually doesn't look like it has any additional photos. So I can go back, click out of that, and then I'm back into my comparative market analysis. So then once I've chosen, I try to, on my CMA, try not to choose any more than 12 properties. That's, once you get past 12, it will really kind of clutter up and muddy up your CMA. And I have done a CMA with as few as 5 or 6 properties. So in that range is enough properties to say, here's what we know is sold. Here's also a couple active or pending properties to show what your competition is going to be like. And that's kind of where you go with it. Let me double check on modify search if we have active. Yep, we have active and we have pending chosen. So obviously there's not a lot on the market, right? We're not seeing a lot of these blue dots, and we're not seeing a lot of these dark blue dots and light blue dots. We're not seeing a ton of those. But if I want to add one of those active or pending properties, I will have to go all the way down to the bottom, because that's where they're found. So I've got to go through this whole list down to the bottom. There's 2 for sale properties. If I wanted to add these to my comp analysis, I would go all the way to the bottom and add those. Okay. Those are reasonable ones to add. This one's probably a little bit low price. It's probably not in great condition. So I'm not sure if it's a great comp. But yeah. So I'm going to X out of that one. We're going to just keep it for now. And then at any time at the very bottom or the very top, I can click on update valuation and close. So once I do that, it brings me back to our page where we have those step 1, step 2, step 3. So now we've done step 2, which is search for comps. Right now it's saying it's 430. Here's our range, which is pretty wide. And then I go down to here. I could choose to adjust comps. Is somebody asking a question? Okay. Then we're going to go on to this review comp analysis. I tend not to, unless it's really necessary to make any adjustments. That's more, again, in my opinion, more like an appraiser would do. So I tend not to even go through that step. I just go down here to edit, and I want to kind of narrow down exactly what I feel like that this property should be valued at. So it's giving me this range, but no seller wants to say I could sell it for as low as 330 to 525. I want to give them more a realistic range where I would probably say, okay, maybe 425. We know that if we list properties below market value, and again, I have not done as much research probably, Ali, as you have. So does 425 seem like what did you list the property at? Is that way too high?
It's way too low. It's 450 and we're pending at it. So
it's pending at 450. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Again, I have not looked at these comps very closely, but if let's say I had, let's assume that I had, and I say, okay, I want to put it 450. I want to go as high as 430. And maybe as low as 400. So that's what is going to show up on my report, okay? And then I'm just gonna go to this button where it says create report.
Hey, quick question. Ali, did you say you listed at 450 and sold at 450, or did you list at a different price and got 450?
no, listed at 450, selling at 450.
Okay, thank you.
Selling above. So
What are you selling it at then?
454.5.
Okay. Any?
I'm sure you probably had multiple offers on this property.
Yes.
Okay. Then you can personalize the report, putting the owner's name on it. You're gonna have to click on this button for the recipient name to be on it. And then you have 250 characters. A lot of times if I'm gonna send over a CMA to somebody before I have actually been in their property, I'm not going to, there's 2 things I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna set a specific price. And the second thing I'm not going, or that I am going to do, is I'm going to say, I've not been in this property. Range is based on market values. Something to that effect, that you'll update it later with a more specific range once you've seen the property in person. That kind of protects you as far as them taking your report and then going for sale by owner, selling it too low, and then saying, well, you sent me a CMA that said I could only sell for X amount. Well, I'd never been in your property, and I put that right on the report. So, and then you can email it to them directly. What I do typically before I deliver it to them is I want to see the report. So, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Okay, so I'm going to put my notes there. And I'm going to deliver it to me now. Once you click on Run Report, you're going to see that it's going to take a certain amount of time for it to actually be ready. And you'll hear, if you leave your volume up, you'll hear a ding dong, and that's when you know your report is actually ready. You can X out of that if you want to. And you can see right here, it's 5 minutes remaining. It usually doesn't take that long. Like 2 or 3 minutes later, we'll hear a ring, and it should be ready. Any questions so far?
Trevor, as I recall, it's been a while since I've done one of these. The reports are pretty lengthy, and we don't necessarily want to send them the entire report, do we? Or do we? Yes, we do, or no, we don't?
I like to, actually. I tend not to pull anything out of the report unless I feel like it's way off, and that's why I print the report first. I send it just to myself. And I kind of do a run through of most of the pages. There's 2 sections of it. It does give the comp analysis of the properties that you pulled. And then further down in the report, it does this general picking of properties that you're not aware of that give the owner an idea of what's happening in the market in that zip code. And so those aren't comps, those are market activity. So you want to make sure you explain the properties in the lowest part of the report are not comparative properties, but it just gives you an idea as to what is happening on the market. It does, I like to send more than they need because number 1, it's added value. Number 2 is for your Intel type of engineer mind that wants to receive this. They will take a day and a half going through that and really analyzing stuff. And then they'll be able to ask you questions that are important to them and challenge you with some of this. And you might be like, you know what, you're absolutely right. That makes sense. We should list for a little bit lower, or we should list for a little bit higher. But it gives them a lot of good stuff.
Okay. Just something to think about for anybody else that's interested. I went on a listing with one of these, and I also talked to our local title company, and they prepared like a neighborhood analysis, and they, printed it out and made it look real pretty for me. And I took that as well. And it talked about the schools, the grocery stores, the neighborhood, the values, what's changed, what's coming up. And the particular people that I'm thinking about were super impressed by that. They loved it, and hopefully I'll get the listing.
Where did you get a neighborhood analysis?
Yeah, it was from a title company, and I'll send you a copy of what it was. I can't remember if that was exactly what it was called, but presented it to. They liked this comp that I was doing that Trevor's showing us, but they like the thing from the title company as much, and it's just kind of something else to bring to them when you're doing a listing appointment that makes you look a little bit, made me look a little bit more like I knew what I was doing anyway.
Say that again. I had my earbuds in, didn't realize that Bobby here couldn't hear. It was a report from the title company, right? What's it called?
I'll have to look it up. It was kind of a neighborhood analysis that really spoke about all the different stores in the neighborhood, the different schools from grade school, middle school, high school, the trends, the bus lines or max lines, public transportation, any colleges, Safeway, Fred Meyer, stuff like that. Just kind of everything you'd want to know in the neighborhood that you're moving into. And so the idea being behind is that you print it out, make it look pretty, put it in a binder, and you leave it on the table so that when buyer's agents are walking through, either you can make a few of them to take with them, or it's just there for them to look at and they can kind of thumb through it. So if they have kids, they're going to know, okay, here's the score for the grade school. It's got a 5-star, or the high school's got a 3-star, or whatever it may be. And I have actually had some other buyers that paid a lot of attention to the schools and what neighborhood we were looking at, because they didn't want to go below a certain amount. But anyway, it's free from your title company, and they're just happy to help you because they want your business.
Mm-hmm. Yep, nothing you have to pay for. The title companies always will be happy to provide those reports for you.
Yeah, the same with a Trio, which is kind of a dumbed down version of a title report, and you can bring that as well and show them. It just anyway, it made me feel like I was a little more confident in the information that I was bringing to the seller so that I could get their listing.
Before you go on any listing appointment, you really should ask for and pull a trio. This is just to confirm who owns the property and make sure that the people that are sitting at the table with you have the right and ability to sign this listing. Whether they're your friend or a completely unknown person, you always want to do that checking. There, our report has been done. So I'm going to screen share again. I'll show you what just popped up on my other screen here. So that's what we see is the report has been successfully generated. I'm going to click on that download report. And it's over here pulling up. And as I click on that, it's going to pull up the property. What's nice is it puts the owner's name right there as you entered it. I don't know if this is Mr. or Mrs. Smith, but it also highlights you. You have to obviously put in your information, your logo, and how you want it to be presented. But here's my notes right there. And those exact notes will also be on the email that it gets sent to them with a link to this. Now, once they get this link, they only have 30 days to download it, and then that link is no longer available. So they want to keep a copy of this. They need to download it and keep it on their own computer. Otherwise, that link will go away after 30 days. And if your property's been listed for 60 days, they click on that link expecting to see it, then you would have to redo that whole CMA. Going further down, what I like about this again is it pulls up a map, shows them, it's really like a high-end CMA. This is the best I've seen any system do CMAs. It does throw a lot of numbers at them, right? So here it shows the list price. It shows the current estimated value with only 4 stars. It shows my refined value. It shows what my comp analysis was, and then my comp analysis range. We obviously have this list price, but if it was not listed yet, then that would not be there. It might show an old list price or an old sold price, depending on what data is available.
Sure, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So this number right here.
Yep.
Does that affect this? I mean, when they get this report and they see this and this is what we have it listed, is that a talking point? Or
It totally is, yeah. I mean, and this is the current estimated value is that RVM and that's what we have to explain to our clients is this is why we don't just go off of Zillow's estimate. This is why we sit down with a realtor and we don't just go off an RVM. We take the time to pull up true comparable properties. If I had taken the time, my RVM or my CMA probably would have come out just like Allie's did at 450, and that's probably why she listed at 450. And so my comp analysis, again, I did not spend very much time on this. I just plunked in a bunch of numbers, and this is kind of what we came out at. So, any other questions? It also has a lot of disclosures on or disclaimers on here that creates data on an as available basis. Here's that page I was talking about where I went through and filled out this part, but it compares the public facts to the listing facts. And then here's my realtor refinements of what I put in there. It goes on to explain, again, all this stuff I didn't have to put in there. It pulled all of this data in here, okay? Then it goes into property photos that are, obviously this one is currently pending and listed, so it's gonna pull up the pending properties. But if it was listed back like 5, 10, sometimes even 15 years ago, it'll pull up those old pictures. And what's nice is when clients go through that, they can point out stuff. Oh, well, we've updated this. We've done this to this room. We've done this to this room. So they can kind of point out what their upgrades have been. It's a really beautiful home. Historical photos. Okay, so those were probably, then it shows a lot of property history specifically to this area, to Benton County, to Oregon in general, to that zip code. Gives them an idea as to, you know, is our county or is our zip code following the trends of Oregon? Goes back as far as 2007, all the way up to today. It shows the tax records and what it's been assessed at. Tons and tons of data in here, guys, that you don't have to pull in. A little bit of history as to where it was assessed at certain times by the tax, the refined value, and actually where it currently stands. Okay. Some heat maps that give an idea as to what's happening in the area around there, what's moving, what the price ranges are, all that kind of stuff. So again, a real analytical person, they love this kind of stuff. And that's why I don't leave all this out. A more emotional type of buyer or seller will be like, oh, this is great, but I'm going to really trust you that you know this data, you know these stats. So take your time, really look through it, educate yourself about it, because if you're sending it over to them, you need to make sure that you can go back and explain things. If and sometimes I'm like, you know what, I didn't put in this data. This is data that they pull in. And so let's look at it together. I've not been able to take the time to look at this specific page. So what is this page telling us? What does this page tell you? What do I see this page telling us? Okay, starts conversations. Any other questions?
I had a question for Allie whenever she was pricing this. I was just wondering how, when Allie prices, did she think, or did, I guess I can speak with you, did Allie, whenever you priced this home, did you think that the 450 price point was high, or was that pretty average for that area?
So because it's a house that's within a 5 to 10 minute walk of the OSU campus, it was really getting boosted in the area. So I did comp it out lower, and then we discussed it. They weren't really wanting to sell. They kind of wanted to see, and their like dream price was 450. I had comped them at 435, 440. They had an appraisal for 445, and they were wanting to go higher, and they didn't want to sell very quickly. So I gave them that 450.
Got it. I was just wondering, I mean, clearly it worked well because you're over that price point.
Yeah, in 10 days we went pending, so yeah.
Any other questions? That's awesome, Allie.
Yeah, good job, Alan.
That's one of those things too, is as you have conversations, we are a guide. We're not an appraiser. We don't take the time to do those type of really in-depth analysis. And so we help them to understand what's happening in the market. But buyers and sellers, a lot of times if they're looking in a specific area, or they've lived in a specific area for a long time, they will know the market better than us. And that's okay. It's not for you to be like, oh gosh, this person's, showing me up. They know their home. They know their neighborhood. They know why they moved there and why they paid top dollar when they had to way back when. Was because, like you say, it's walking distance to the campus. It's got all these pieces, and those are the pieces. I literally have another piece of my listing presentation where it's a few questions for my seller, because I want them to describe why they're passionate about having lived there that I will never know, and that's what I want to sell to the next seller. And so I put their comments, not quoting them, but I use their words a lot of times to fill out my public and my private remarks, to then attract a person that's very much like them that will be attracted to this home as well.
I had them go on to their Zillow, because they had their own Zillow profile, and write what I love about my home in the owner profile. That I think helped a lot, because I was limited as an agent to like 500 words. So I was able to write about the updates. They were able to write about the fact that there's a pub nearby, that there's parks right around the corner, that you can walk 5 minutes to campus and 10 minutes if you want to go to the stadium. So it added in a little extra words for the sale, which really helped.
That's great.
Good job, Al.
Any other
Thanks, Bobby.
Any other questions? Well, that's what I got for you guys today. Went way longer than I expected to, but you guys had a lot of great questions. I hope that was helpful. As always, your principal brokers, we're here to help you guys be successful. I love that this was impromptu. Thank you, Andre, for being willing to share your time and share with all these agents this opportunity to learn. And you guys have a great weekend.
Sounds good. Thanks, Trevor. It was really good. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bye, Al.
Thanks, Trevor. Bye.
Bye. Bobby, bye guys.
See ya.
She's right there.
I know. Touch her.